Now, so now that we have false gods, by the way, the law is broken absolutely everywhere, isn't it? We've got funding terrorism. The government funds terrorism. An example just is bombing Libya with our RAF. That was funding terrorism. There's regime change. Nothing to do with us. Totally unlawful. Operation Gladio. Terrorism. It was set up with NATO to create subversive units in Europe, and you find them behind many of the false flags, and that came out with one of the Italian presidents. They create these things to cause chaos so that they can respond to it and then get their left-right paradigm, just keep going, as you probably know, left-right, marching towards it. Global international government. Drug running, that's another one. Drug running is another thing they do, which is totally unlawful, breaking the law. Afghanistan, by the Taliban, when they're in power, there's no opium in that country. When we're in there's loads. It goes up by 100%, I think, when our soldiers are getting their heads blown off protecting them. I met a bloke in the SDS, and I talked to him about this. He'd been shot in the arm by a 50 calibre machine gun. And a very gentle man. It looks like he'd been a bit too close to some depleted uranium. His energy was low. We were in these rigid raiders out there, and we used to go out and intercept these boats. And on several occasions, we said, "Okay, let's get them." They go, "Oh no, let that one pass. Let that pass, because it's got a lot of our drugs in." Now, I also know somebody who is in customs in the north of England, and he was a bit enthusiastic, and a pallet of drugs came through. "Oh look, we're going to do it for this." Boss come up, "Shut your mouth. We know you've got a family and everything. Let it go, because we run it." The one who endorsed the opium wars was George III. What a surprise. He was the one who created the sort of company that could do it. This is they want you to vote for this. When you vote for it, you're breaking the law. You're adding to the chaos. Okay. What else do they do when they break the law? Local councils have fake courts. Did you know that? If you don't pay council tax, and you don't want to, you shouldn't have to, because it's totally against the law, totally unlawful. If you don't want to contribute, if you don't want to take part in their horrible system, they just, without you being there, do a judgment in a fake court, and then you get someone knocking on your door saying, "You owe us money. There's a debt to settle that's been created with a fake liability order that looks like it's been printed in some children's copy printing machine." That's what happens. This is what's happening in our lawless country. The councils are completely acting out totally unlawfully. Not only to that, they implement something called UN Agenda 21 Sustainable Development, which is an international plan implemented locally with your local money, with an international NGO running it called ICLEI. This is treason, because what you're doing is putting sovereignty into an international NGO. It's being done in your councils. And when you say to them this isn't right, they lie and they lie, and they firewall and they stonewall or whatever they do. Absolutely unbelievable. Breaking the law, undermining the law system. Very little accountability. It's very hard getting back to them. And of course, fascism. What did my grandparents' house in London was flattened in the war. Flattened, totally flattened. Didn't get any money for it. They had to come out to Wiltshire and live in a cowshed. My granddad whitewashed the walls before they settled in. No money for that. This was the war against fascism. What's fascism? It's government working with corporations. It's the split. Man cannot serve two masters. We have fascism in our country. Partnerships, if you go to your local council, well, we're in partnership with. Fascism with you, that's good. I'm not paying my council tax then because you're a traitor. Because these are international corporations. The council therefore has no allegiance to the sovereign, therefore to me, therefore is totally lawless. Don't want anything to do with you. Oh yeah, because we're going to just push forward and break the law continually with our common purpose training that says at its core, go beyond authority. That's at the core of common purpose. Go beyond authority. Push beyond authority. And so then you get them knocking on your door and things like that, and you're going to have to start taking the CEOs to court or whatever. So we've got the judges. The judges break oaths all the time. I know somebody who's had such dealings with the judge. I'm not even going to go into it, but she certainly made it clear what she thought of him. And of course they encourage borrowing. What do we hear in this election? Oh, we're going to pump up the NHS. Borrow though to do that, and of course the big banks are loving this, the big corporations, the usury and so on, the destruction, the lawlessness goes on. Okay, that's one way of doing it, is being lawless. The other way is to introduce the corporations, which are dead entities. And by the way, our country of law and living men and women is called, the name of it is called, United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Right, that's what our country is called. It's a common law, therefore the law is fixed, not random, so you can relax. You buy a piece of land, relax. Don't pay council tax, you don't need to. Because, you know, if it's a proper country, you won't need to. It'll be organised properly, as I'll talk about later. You can relax, you've got your property, live in peace and you've got property, according to the common law. That's what you do when you buy some land. It's nice. That's what a country should be, a common law country. The laws are fixed and predictable. Not the law of the corporation that says, by the way, we're going to put a fracking plant right opposite your house. Depreciating all the value, poisoning the water supply, which is what they want to do anyway, because then they can limit the supply by putting poisons into our underwater lakes, like they're doing in America. They just want to limit the supply. What's Agenda 21? It's about totally controlling absolutely everything, or construction, or land, or air, or water, everything. That's what UN Agenda 21, Sustainable Development, contradiction in terms, is all about. So, if you have predictable, steady law, everything can just flow very, very nicely indeed. Now, the corporation of our country is called United Kingdom, or UK PLC, and you can look that up, it is a PLC. When you go and vote, you're voting for a PLC. You're voting for a CEO to go in there, who happens now to look like Theresa May, and, but yes, UK PLC is a corporation, and if you vote for it, if you're involved with it, all you are is a little minion on the shop floor. And they say, let's hear your voice. What have you got to say? And while you're talking, I'm just going to go over here and just listen to my headphones. That's what they do. Totally, absolutely ignore you. Because their plan, they've got their objective. It's a long count. They've been doing it hundreds of years. They want total global corporate control. With God, through Christ, totally cut off. That's why they don't like Christians very much. True Christians, not the ones in churches. They're not true Christians. The real ones. Well, at least most of those aren't real Christians. Anyway, so UK and UK PLC. So what you have when you've got corporations in charge, you've got something called the Justinian principle, which is the law is the whim of the prince. You know, wake up one morning, I think what we'll do is we'll have smoking ban in pubs. We'll just do that. Let's do it today. And, you know, and so on and so on and so on. Just random laws all over the place. So you don't know what's going on. And what we're going to do is build a housing estate over there. They're building a housing estate here. 3,000 homes they want to build in this little town. They built, in my previous town in Kent, Ashford, I looked at the core strategy from about 15 years ago. We're going to do extensive building for migrants. And this was before all the migrant situation. They knew the migrants were going to be coming in because of the clergy plan. And you can win the clergy prize if you're in the EU, by the way. You win the clergy prize. Anyway, they built 11,000 houses, or they're trying to, or going through the process of building 11,000 houses in Ashford. Ashford used to be a lovely market town. Now it's known as Ashfordski. Okay? And they've been building these houses, and they're made out of bad materials. and it's all Agenda 21, just build, build, build. Anyway, even the council is against us building these 3,000 houses here, but the company that's doing the building is saying, we're going to build it anyway. It was in the local paper the other day. Do you see? Because we're run by corporations and you do not have a say. They like to think you do with all this election nonsense. Okay, so there we are. That is the... So basically, if you want to destroy a country that lives, the country that's run according to the law, you bring in the opposite. You bring in the lawlessness and you bring in the dead entity, which is the corporation. And you attach it to what lives, and then there's the split. Man cannot serve two masters, that is for a reason. Okay? Are there any questions?
Loads.
Go on then.
I'll wait for the end.
Well, no, this is the end of part one.
Okay. How did you come up with 5 years for the country to be ruined?
5 years?
Yeah. How does your calculation work? For 5 years?
Mm.
What's your thinking behind it?
Wow. So, no, I just think that the rate of the change that's happening, the change that they're pushing, I just think that this is the last 5 years because of the rate of the change. Does that make sense to anybody else, right? The way things are going? Would that be fair to anyone else to say this is 5 years is pretty crucial, and I think we're seeing the guillotine coming down after that? Anyone else would think that?
Do you think they're aware of the epiphany?
I'll talk to you about the epiphany later.
That's assuming that she wins. I don't think she will.
Well, she might not.
I don't think she will. I think this is all a setup.
I don't think it's going to make any difference.
I think this is a setup to get Blair back in.
I think you're right. I don't think it'll make any difference.
Because if you look at it, whatever happens, we're in for a loss.
Yes.
The objective...
If Theresa May wins,
Yeah.
she says she's going to go with what most of us voted for a year ago. But she's not. To start with, she's broken so many promises
Exactly.
straight away,
Yeah.
and that means, as far as I'm concerned, that you're right, and you're all right. She is not being controlled by the Conservative Party or anything to do with that. It's somebody that's much bigger that's pulling these.
Why did she look like Disraeli's great granddaughter?
I tell you.
Why did she look like Rothschild's daughter?
Yeah, but I can't philosophise on what you can.
No.
I can only look at the political influences I've been watching all my life.
Yeah.
And what I see
Yes.
is this situation where the whole thing is designed to put us back where we were before that last vote. Doesn't matter whether the Conservatives get in, Labour get in, Liberal get in, and what are they doing? They realise that the majority of people have got wind of this, which is why we went in for this Brexit, or for any reason. And now they're going round, the Liberals and the Labour Party, and what are they trying to do? They're trying to muddy the waters by the big giveaway.
Yeah.
Well, if you go, Theresa May, after saying that she's going to go for Brexit, has then done something which is totally what no politician would do. She's gone out there, she knows her support are basically the old, and straight away, within 5 minutes when the Labour's doing the giveaway, the Liberals are giving the giveaway, she's going around saying she's going to stop the winter fuel payment for the old. She's going to stop the triple lock on the pensions,
Yeah.
which goes totally against
Okay,
it. In other words, that's pushing people into the other camp. When's a politician ever done that?
So, Alan, what do you think? It's not long until...
It's the plan.
It's the plan. And I think the plan's coming to fruition. There are many signs towards it. Anyone else can think of any signs? Vic, do you think of any signs that are pointing towards things ratcheting up?
What?
You know, this last 5 years.
Just everything. I mean, it's almost impossible to name just one thing. Because it's a collection of mission creep that has happened.
You read
by
the paper,
stealth.
read the paper in a week, and you've got this coming in, this coming in, this control.
It's permanent things being passed all the time. Yes.
The new £5 note
Yeah.
has a gap
Don't
ready
you
for
think-
imprinting. That will be digitalised.
Yeah.
Chip, so they can do. Same in Australia, same in Malaysia.
That's it.
£10 note so they can know where the money is.
Yeah.
You go to a bank, say here's £20, the bank will say here's £19.80.
Yeah.
This is what you're getting. This
And people, I saw on the news today that they're putting chips in people now so they can lock their doors. They say, it's really good, I've got a chip. It's like you said, Sophia, it is a whole thing. And if you look at, what's your name, sorry? What's your name called?
My name is called Scott.
Scott. So the thing is, Scott, I think...
I'm known as Scott.
Yes. Well, actually, the Wizard of...
Wizard of Oz.
That's right. So do you not agree then that we've got about 5 years? What's your take on it?
I was just interested because I go to quite a few different talks, but I mean, this chap here actually mentioned something that's very interesting. But when we look at these problems, this is how I perceive it.
Yeah.
If we just say that I haven't had a television in 25 years.
Yeah.
25 years. Yeah. I suspect that most people here have TVs and they watch TV. But I haven't had one. But I still get tons of news. I still know what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think I know more about what's going on in the world because I don't have a television.
Yeah. That's
Which
interesting.
relates to...
You don't have one, do you?
No, I don't.
We don't.
Which relates
Funny.
to UK,
Yeah.
what's going on here.
So what do you think? What do you think? The rate is ratcheting up? 5 years?
Oh yeah, well, possibly sooner. But,
Yeah.
But it depends on what you are saying is going to happen in those 5 years.
Oh, I don't know what's going to happen necessarily.
I've got one
I would be able to, if I took my head out of this mode of trying to give a talk, then I might be able to
Yeah.
tell you some answers. But Sophia
just
might.
wanted to say one thing, is that I don't actually think that we will get out of the EU. Because that's right. I think this is all just a ruse because it's sort of smoke and mirrors. So if they really wanted us to gotten out, then they would have had an election
Yeah.
straight away after
Yeah.
Brexit, and UKIP would have got in and dealt with it.
But we have to realise that the EU is a corporation
Yeah.
and it's in a contract with UK PLC. So it's totally irrelevant if you look at it that way. And if you get on with living your life according to law, it is irrelevant. And the more people who do that, the less hold this EU have on us anyway.
Yeah, but the one thing I can't understand, and you've said this before when you've talked about this business about, well, you don't recognise them, right? You don't recognise certain laws, certain things like councils and certain taxes.
No.
Well, I can accept that, except for one thing. In my life, which has been pretty basic up to now,
Yeah.
probably will continue that way,
Yeah.
because nothing happens much past your 70. Every time I thought that you were right, and it's come to me many times,
Yeah.
and I've gone against that,
Yeah.
the laws pretty soon recognise me, and I've ended up paying. So
What do you mean?
well, if I had a situation where I thought a tax had been unjust and I said, well, I'm not going to pay it,
Yeah.
all they did was implement their so-called
Yeah.
illegal courts. And their courts might be illegal, but I still end up getting in a position where I've got to pay.
I know, but I'll be talking about this a bit more later. But you're right, yeah.
And one other thing,
But you don't actually have
you
to
talk
pay.
about, I'm changing the subject.
Yeah.
You talk about the end of the world. Now,
No.
sorry.
I'm not talking about the end of the
You're
world.
talking about the collapse of what we know.
Well,
More or less.
I'll talk to you a bit about
There's
it.
just one question I want to ask you.
Yeah.
And I've not been into religion, I was brought up as a Christian,
Yeah.
but I only know the stories of the Christian religion.
Yeah.
And I do have a feeling I am a spiritual person.
Yeah.
But I seem to remember somewhere in there,
Yeah.
and this may well figure in what you say and what is going to happen in the next few years. And finally, you should mention being interested in astrology, sorry.
Yeah.
Because you know very well my wife,
Yes.
who you only know slightly,
Yeah.
is in it very deeply.
Yeah.
And she's saying exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing it in... I don't
2
know where
years.
it's coming from, but I'm hearing it in both ears.
You're not even from
But
England.
one thing I do remember, somewhere in my religious education,
Yeah.
I remember that the world ends when we are all numbered.
Well, yeah, there is that. Yeah.
Well, surely this business of money going and
Tax.
and chips in the thing means
Yeah.
you're not going to be Alan, Bill, Charlie,
Well,
David or Sophia. You're going to be number 2297654.
Well, look, I'll tell you about the epiphany in the next bit if you care to stay, and I hope you do. And you.
I'll do my best, but you know.
Yeah, no, you do. Well, where's Svetlana anyway?
Well, she's actually sitting to wait for the delivery.
Oh, okay.
I'm supposed to be there for to unload.
All right, well, it's great to have you here. Any guess, go on.
Yeah, quick.
What's your name called?
Craig.
Craig, yes.
That's close enough. Yeah. A couple of things about. You mentioned common purpose.
Yeah.
In relation to the council, is that a technical term, or is that just?
Do you know about common purpose?
No.
Oh, you should. Yeah, you must.
Listen.
Does anyone want to tell him about common purpose?
Very, very
Does anyone want to tell him about
They'll
corporates?
change agents, it's programs.
They're a political charity. They are a registered charity. They're registered with the Charities Commission. How, I don't know. They're a political charity. Your own course. I'll tell you.
They're a political charity, and what they want, and one of their founders was a woman called Julia Middleton, who's, you know, anyway, and she wrote a book called Beyond Authority. And you read that book, and it says, this is what we've got to do, you've just got to go beyond authority. In other words, in law, that means ultra vires, and that's a serious offence in public office. It could even lead to misconduct in the public office, but the police don't arrest anything anyway. But it's about pushing beyond all boundaries. And the common purpose attitude, the psychopathic, lawless attitude, is what you find in the tops of the councils now. Who is it who said it's not all their fault? And I don't think it is all their fault, and I will talk about that later. But they've all been brainwashed. You know, I'll talk to you about what we could do with them later, but there you go.
Can I just make one point?
Only one, Scott.
Only that I was just trying to relate to this chap is that when we're in here talking about this, we're relating to, we think this is the world. We do naturally as humans. We look upon like our little village, our town, our city, England. This is going all over the world.
Yeah, it is.
We must not take our eyes off that. This agenda that we're talking about isn't just here.
UN Agenda 21 as well.
Isn't just here.
No.
When you haven't got a TV, you realise it's going on all
I
over
know.
the world.
Well, Anne Bressington, as Australian MP, who exposed UN Agenda 21. Did you see that speech? Anyway, look, I'll be. How long do you want? 10 minutes?
4?
4 minutes? 4 minutes?
No, 4 what?
Minutes.
For a break, little break. Do you want a break, or do you want me to carry on? You go and do that. 2 minutes. Don't be long, Dylan.
And that'll only be reduced to 30 seconds when they finally take over.
Otherwise, you'll have to pay tax.
Yeah. No, you're taxed if you go.
That's right.
Or you know.
Yeah.
So they tax you on the amount you do.
Yeah. Or don't. in case they do.
So look.